Hey gang. All right. Putting together a little preview here of the new deluxe Foliage Renderer shader. Got my little test scene set up here, talk you through some of the features, some of the cool stuff so far. I'm sort of building this out as a sort of unit test for all the features, but it's going to take building a couple scenes. We'll talk about why. What all is involved. Hoping to have this on Shopify or Gumroad here pretty soon for you guys to go ahead and get into, optimize your scenes some more, get some better features out of it along the way. You can see these spheres are interacting with the vegetation. It's a little pronounced right now. I haven't really dialed that in quite right yet. Oh, that tree faded out. So we've got near camera fade. You've got far camera fade. We'll go through some of the features here in a second. We're going to turn the corner. You're going to start to see some subsurface sort of creep in on this grass and on the bushes and stuff. There's different kinds of color variation going on in all the different elements. Talk more about that too. But the really exciting thing is using the texture packer configs here. This is just using the existing Unity URP terrain example assets, but I've packed them down into a bunch of them down into these single texture setups. So I think the rocks are using 2 textures, and I think the tree bark is using 2 textures, and everything else is down to a single texture, which looks like this. Using the texture packer, which I cover in that video, how to set that up. The great thing about that is the memory footprint for this scene is a fraction of what it would be doing it the Unity way or any of the other number of shaders out there. But you still get a nigh indiscernible result. Like you honestly probably couldn't even tell. So how much more efficient is it? This scene is I think now 12 textures because I added the red bush, everybody's favorite red bush this morning. Which means I think we're up to 12 total textures for all the trees and details, which means we're running in like 10 different trees or details in the cost of like 3-ish trees or details the normal way, depending on specifically which ones you're using. So it is way less memory. Let's see what else is going on here. You'll notice the trees have tons of color variation in the leaves. That's all 3D noise. You'll see some tree trunks in here that are sort of like mossy green. There's some like really mossy green ones, and then there's some regular brown ones. Still, it's one total texture for all the trees. It's one total texture for all the tree branches. We're getting color variation in the grass. There's height variation on the little tufts, and then 2D variation on the tall ones. The tall ones have subsurface. The leaves have subsurface. You'll see here as we turn into the light, that'll catch more. The red bushes have subsurface turned on, and I'm just using the simple subsurface mode. We can look at some of these material settings here. We'll look at the red bushes here. So tag settings, pretty straightforward. Vertex settings, you've got the ability to scale things when it's far away from the camera. You've got the ability to align stuff to the terrain shape if you're using FR. This scene right now, just Unity terrain. No other foliage renderer, because I want the shader to function on its own, right? Like it's fully FR compatible, but it will work for any project. Got our vertex wind. That works like normal perspective bending, so this will bend stuff down when you look down, and then interactable mode. How many different colliders you want to interact with. You got your mesh settings. You can do different mesh normals. Let's see, the bush here is radiating out from the center, so it's doing one of those, so you get a nice even ball effect, which is pretty cool. Alpha settings. Oh, Those numbers are goofy. Oh, hey, look, one just showed up. I was gonna say, here's some farther away ones we can see. So you set your start and end, and then you got your fade power. You'll see here that the tree dissolves, and then you can add world noise to that if you want, and you can fade out glancing edges. See, they're getting smooshed down. Cool. Basic PBR settings. The default foliage renderer isn't this cute. Doesn't really have a lot of sliders for that stuff. Then you've got your different texture sampling modes. Here we're set to ultralight. And you've got controls for doing your color blend. You can see we've still got green parts and red parts of that bush, just like the original texture, just sort of simplifying the color input. This is like perfect for stylized content. Here's a good shot of like all the leaf variation going on in the trees. No overlay colors. Let me just turn that on real quick. And then change the noise scale. So there you can see we've got redder and less red patches. We've got different blend modes: multiply, add, overlay, replace. You can do this with color, you can sample a texture, you can use the terrain, and this will work if you have the align to terrain stuff on and FR piping that information in. It'll just work. You can blend by height or the opposite of height. Wetness. I'll set up another version of the scene that has like the wetness. I want to get a microsplat terrain in here for that. Make sure all those shader property names match up so that we get a nice, make the ground wet, make everything wet. And then frost similar, turn that on and off. Subsurface settings, right now this is just simple mode. So you get some thickness information calculation going on. And then what color you want to do. And of course that's HDR, so you get crazy if you want to get crazy. And then you can mask that, so you could mask it off by height or by sphere. Sphere will probably look pretty nice. Yeah, you see it's more on the back half that way. We'd have to tune all this if we want to go that route. Oh, these got really red for a minute. Crazy. And then we've got saturation sliders in here. So if you want to really crank these up or grayscale them, you've got that option. Again, like this is dirt cheap. This is 2 instructions. And you can apply it to like just the emission if you just want to saturate your emission, or just your albedo, or some combination thereof. I'll put this back to 1. So yeah, there you go. Now trees kind of need a different interaction, needs like another dial so stuff doesn't just push down. Quick, fade out. Fade out's a little too close. We'll apply that world noise. Jack up the intensity of that. Push this out to be a little bit farther. See if we fly through one of these other bushes and how that looks. The rocks here have some color variation as well. Let's take a look at a rock. Right, so this is using 2 textures. It's still got its albedo, and then it's got a data pack. And then color is set to overlay, so it'll make some of them brighter. And you've got a few modes there: multiply, add, overlay, or replace. If we replace, they'll just turn white. They'll just turn that color. You want to overlay? It's pretty good. Yeah. All right. Questions or thoughts or concerns? This is running in 21 built in, so there's no post processing going on. It's just scene fog, good old linear. I think it's exponential, but good old exponential scene fog. So like very bare bones Unity scene. No FR to increase detail density or anything like that. It does have the normal FR wind controller. It does have the vertex motion and kind of all that stuff, but no extra FR features. There we go. That fade out's better on that bush. Yeah. So any questions or concerns or stuff you're curious about or you want to see more, I will set up little sample scenes for the wetness. I will set up a sample scene for the frost that sort of oscillates those values in and out using the material manager stuff, which is free. It's in the same GitHub organization as the other repos. So if you're familiar with those, you can just go grab that stuff. It's got the texture packer that I use to set these up, which is a nice non-destructive workflow. And the material collections are a nice workflow for doing shader global type stuff. But you can sort of do it for any shader property on any shader you've got for any number of materials. You don't have to actually have those properties be global, which is cool. And you don't have to set them globally. So you can even use them as like a per scene, I'll set my scene to nighttime mode, set my scene to daytime mode. I use it for all sorts of stuff. Calibrating all sorts of stylized effects across lots of assets simultaneously. I've used that on a bunch of projects. So there you go. That's where we're at here. We're almost there. A couple little things to punch up and improve. This interaction stuff, as you can see, a little overly simple at the moment. I'm going to push that a little bit more. This is not the most performant possible solution. It's extremely performant if you only want to use like 1 to 4 interactables. Once you started getting higher than that, it's not as good as a more complicated solution, which I will build subsequently and add in a later release. But it will work in every render pipeline right out of the box, which is really important. The better way is like kind of a pain for HDRP. So that'll come in a patch. But this will give you an idea of where we're headed, the efficiency you can get, the sort of like preservation of the quality given that efficiency, and then multiply this on top of all of your sort of normal foliage renderer improvements, and you got a stew, right? Cool. All right. Questions or concerns, let me know in the comments or in Discord, as always.